And of course in Ireland, how about hi to Suzanne, Lisa, Natalie and Ramy? You know who you're cheering for? So do I. He starts on the inside of row 2. Here we go. First of our 2 formation laps ahead of the senior pre-final. Message from Jill that all of the 33 starters are out on circuit, and that's good to have. Again, I feel very, very bad for the likes of Florent Lambert and Harold Skokaklis in that previous pre-final, but hey, I guess that's racing. But all 33 starters in seniors pre-final are on circuit for the formation laps. Those of you tuned in online, big thank you for being tuned in online. RGMMC TV going live with coverage from the Rotax Winter Cup here in Campos in the south of Spain. My usual little conditions report. Plenty of blue sky, but a lot more white cloud than we've had previously here today, but still sunny, and the big factor, that biting cold wind, is much reduced. It's really quite pleasant out there today, whereas previously very, very cold. Once again, as I look out to my left, those of you familiar with the Campos circuit, the galleries in the face of the cliff, I would say there's getting on for 70 odd people there. It's a great viewing position. We've also got some casual spectators on the far side of the circuit on the upper back straight. I think they're locals who've driven in with their cars and watching the racing. And somebody taking a spin at the back. Let me try and work out who that was. It wasn't somebody at the front initially. If it was car number 245, that was Berat Turka. Well, Berat Turka should be starting on row 5. He's got a lot of work to do. Berat Turka at the back needs to get onto the 5th row, overcoming the damage of that spin. I think he's going to make it, and does make it in time. Just before the cut-off line, I think Berat Turka will start in position. James Singleton on pole and Yuri Foreman on the front row. Charlie Eastwood, the world champion, is on row 2 with Philip Morin, his dad cheering him on in a very cold Sweden. Luke Hughes and Harry Webb, row 3. Harrison Scott and Max Weinzierl, row 4. Ed Brand and Berat Turka, row 5. 13 laps of the senior pre-final here at Campos. And James Singleton getting the advantage from pole position, but a very fast start by Yuri Foreman on the outside of row 1. And Yuri Foreman's fast start gets him into second place behind the pole man, which is James Singleton. That looks to me like Charlie Eastwood in third place. We've had some contact on the first turn. Jill thinks that cart 240 has gone out. That's Mark Gonzalez of Spain. That's a bitter disappointment for the local driver from here in Spain after having gone so well yesterday afternoon in the heats. James Singleton leads. Yuri Foreman in second place. Charlie Eastwood in third place. Luke Hughes, I think that is in fourth place. And behind Luke Hughes, it's Harrison Scott. So let me give you that call again. Harrison Scott 5th, Luke Hughes 4th, Charlie Eastwood 3rd, Yuri Foreman in 2nd place. But your leader is James Singleton, but there's been a change. And, well, that looks as if Charlie Eastwood and maybe also Harry Webb got himself a little bit involved there. Let me do a double take. It is Harrison Scott who's gone into 3rd in front of Charlie Eastwood, and Charlie Eastwood has dropped to 6th, I think it is. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those of you that have got the RGMMC TV screens, I do feel a little bit jealous because I'm having to do this with the naked eye. Not that I mind, it's what I've been doing for years and years. But I think it's a drop down from 3rd to 6th for the world champion Charlie Eastwood. James Singleton certainly leads. Yuri Foreman certainly second. Harrison Scott without a doubt in 3rd place. Luke Hughes 4th, and Charlie Eastwood gets a place back. Charlie Eastwood goes from 6th to 5th, and he passes Philip Morin, who is relegated to 6th place. Philip Morin just in front of Harry Webb, I think. Ed Brand also there. They're the top 8. Berat Turka 9th, Nick Tihonen 10th. This is the start of lap 3. James Singleton's lead over Yuri Foreman was 0.44 of a second, and it was as much as that and a wee bit more between 2nd and 3rd. That's between Yuri Foreman and Harrison Scott. Haven't looked too closely, but I'll double check if Harrison Scott's still racing in the colours of former Rotax champion Luke Varley. Double champion, of course, Luke, in terms of European and world. I think he was also a domestic champion. Yeah, that looks like Varley. And there goes a move by Charlie Eastwood. Charlie Eastwood is repairing the damage. It wasn't Charlie Eastwood, it was Harry Webb. It was Harry Webb moving forward. It was Harry Webb going up into 4th place. That at the expense of Luke Hughes. So whereas there were 2 Welshmen in the top 4, there's now 2 Welshmen in the top 5. Luke Hughes drops to 5th. Harry Webb goes up to 4th. Harrison Scott 3rd. Yuri Foreman 2nd. James Singleton our leader as we set off on lap 4. And Harry Webb putting pressure on Yuri Foreman now. Harry Webb was last year's junior champion at Rotax European level. The Rotax Euro Challenge Junior Champion made the transition to seniors very sweetly. The son of a very successful superkart racer, Stephen Webb, a British and European superkart champion. Well, Harry Webb doing his dad proudly. James Singleton leads. Yuri Foreman is in 2nd place, but Harry Webb getting closer. Behind Harry Webb, excuse me, that's Harrison Scott, isn't it? Behind Harrison Scott, Harry Webb. And Harrison Scott moves up into 2nd place and gets there into 2nd place. So a nice move by the Luke Varley impersonator. And James Singleton gets a bit of a cushion now. No longer that narrow lead over Yuri Foreman. Harrison Scott in 2nd place. Yuri Foreman 3rd. Harry Webb in 4th place. And Edward Brand has also gone past Luke Hughes. So Luke Hughes needs to stop the rot a little bit here. Was running in 4th place, drops to 6th as Ed Brand elevates himself to 5th. I'll just turn my eyes away and see what the screen is telling me. That's the timing screen. Karol Dabski moved up to 9th on that lap, and Arvo Talvar drove into the top 10 on that lap. The guy that slipped was Berat Turka, who's now only running 12th. The New York driver from the United States of America up to 15th, having started 30th. The lady from Spain, Marta Aritha, I'm afraid she's running way down the field in kart 243. But the lady from Sweden, Jessica Backman, going a lot more successfully, kart 226, Jessica Backman in 14th place. And another change, with Harrison Scott taking the lead from James Singleton. Harrison Scott, who's looked very strong in the early stages, and Harry Webb goes through into 2nd place. Oh, and Yuri Foreman to 3rd, and all of a sudden James Singleton, who ended that previous lap in 1st place, is now in 4th place. And it wasn't a case of being out of position and everybody going past him. He was picked off 1, 2, 3. Harrison Scott leads, Harry Webb 2nd, Yuri Foreman 3, James Singleton 4, then a little bit of a gap, and Edward Brand in 5th place. Philip Morin running 6th, Luke Hughes now down to 7th, Charlie Eastwood 8th, then there's a big gap behind Charlie Eastwood, Arvo Talvar 9th, and Karol Dabski in 10th place. Coming to start lap 7, Harrison Scott's lead over Harry Webb is 0.169 of a second. They are, of course, Strawberry Racing teammates. We don't know if there's any kind of team orders. One would imagine in a pre-final that there won't be, that it will be, guys, race your own race, don't do anything silly to your teammates though. So we're at the halfway stage of the race, a 13-lap race, 6.5 laps gone, 6.5 to go. Harrison Scott leads, Harry Webb is second, Yuri Foreman is third, James Singleton is fourth. He looks over his right shoulder, he sees Ed Brand running fifth, Philip Morin sixth, Luke Hughes seventh, Charlie Eastwood eighth, then that big gap to Arvo Talvar ninth, and another big gap to Max Weinzel, who completes the top 10 in 10th place. Coming round to complete lap 7, and James Singleton has gone past Yuri Foreman. So Harrison Scott still leading, Harry Webb still second, James Singleton back into third place, Yuri Foreman fourth, Edward Brand fifth, Ed Brand closing in a little bit now on the front four. Philip Morin in sixth place isn't too detached, nor is Luke Hughes seventh or Charlie Eastwood eighth. But Harrison Scott in the lead, Harry Webb second. Good to see the progress of these young English lads, because both of them were racing junior not so very long ago. Well, Harry Webb was racing junior last year. He was the junior champion. Ed Brand goes past Yuri Foreman into fourth place, and Ed Brand coming into some form when it counts. This is lap 8 of a 13-lap senior pre-final. And Harry Webb, the world champion, taking the lead. Harry Webb getting himself past Harrison Scott. Harrison Scott back in front, and Harry Webb back in front, and this time Harrison Scott loses a place also to James Singleton. So James Singleton has now split the Strawberry racers at the front. Welshman getting up amongst the Englishmen, and those front three just pulling away a little bit now. Yuri Foreman has fallen back to fifth, with Ed Brand up to fourth. Wildcard 222 is Harry Webb, and he's in the lead. James Singleton looks over his shoulder, just playing a defensive move there. Didn't try to attack Harry Webb, but is trying to attack him now, and attacks with success, because James Singleton goes into the lead on lap 9. But Harrison Scott's fighting back. Harry Webb third. James Singleton getting himself back into the front of this one, having started on pole position. We're coming round to complete lap 9. And the whole width of the track here at Campios is being used tactically. Harry Webb getting himself past Harrison Scott, and the front running 9, really nothing between. Fastest lap is by somebody way down in 9th place, Arvo Talvar. Let me do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, that is Arvo Talvar, and that fastest lap has brought him onto the, it would be the peloton, wouldn't it, in cycling? James Singleton again looks over. James Singleton always a bit wary of this hairpin at the end of the return home straight. Doesn't always drive it as well as he might. Well, he's done nothing wrong on that one, and on the previous one he took himself back into the lead. So it's a two-edged sword. Harrison Scott piling on the pressure. Harry Webb in there. Ed Brand fourth. Yuri Foreman fifth. Philip Morin sixth. And there's some changes there, because that looks as if that is, well, let me say exactly who it is when I know with certainty as they go past me. And there's a driving standards flag being shown to cart number 204, James Singleton. So our race leader, James Singleton, or our erstwhile race leader, because he has been passed by Harrison Scott, has the advantage of being a front runner, the disadvantage of having had a driving standards flag Football's equivalent of the yellow card. Karting's equivalent of football's yellow card. Let me give you the call. Harrison Scott leads. James Singleton is second. Harry Webb is third. Yuri Foreman back to fourth. Ed Brand is fifth. Luke Hughes sixth. Charlie Eastwood 7. Arvo Talvar 8. Philip Morin 9. And Jack Weprin, who I remind you started in 31st place. Jack Weprin from the United States drives from 31st to 10th in the senior pre-final. Doesn't have a lot of experience outside of the USA, but did come over to race with us in the Rotax Euro Challenge and the RGMMC International Open last year, and finding the benefit of that in getting himself up into the top 10. Good drive. Well, Harrison Scott, dare I say it, don't want to put the mockers on, but has Harrison Scott, by virtue of Ed Brand getting in front of Harry Webb, has Harrison Scott got a margin where he can kick for home from here? There's just 1.5 laps remaining, and Edward Brand has driven a really good race to get himself, and Harrison Scott looks over his left shoulder, so does Ed Brand. Oh, and Harry Webb there looked as if he was feinting to make a move on Ed Brand. I don't think that would have been successful. Please don't think for 1 minute that I think I know what I'm talking about, but I do have an elevated view from here, and well, the angles were wrong and the gap wasn't there, so that seemed to me a pretty good reason why Harry Webb shouldn't try to make that attempted move, and Harry saw it that way as well. So last lap, 1 to go in the senior pre-final, and Harry Webb using the full width of the track again to defend that third place from James Singleton. James Singleton gonna feel disappointed to start the pre-final on pole position and potentially finish in fourth place for an outside row 2 start in the final. But it's looking good for Harrison Scott. As I say many times, those of you that listen to me, and I know a lot of you explain a lot of the strange things I say and recall some of the things that you tell me you like, well, you know I don't want to put the commentators' curse in, but if you wanted to swap places with anybody in this race, it would be Harrison Scott. He's got 3/4 of a second on Ed Brand, and he's got less than a half a lap to go to win the pre-final and put himself on pole position in the final. Down to the lowest part of the course. Nobody in the top 4 in a position to make a challenge unless James Singleton did something dramatic. Here's your race winner. The checkered flag is out and Harrison Scott wins it. Harrison Scott wins it. Edward Brand is second. Harry Webb is third. James Singleton fourth. Luke Hughes, who dropped down to 8th, climbed back to 5th. Yuri Foreman 6th. Charlie Eastwood 7. Arvo Talvar 8. Jack Weprin gained another place up to 9th. And Philip Morin, who had been running 6th, fell down to 10th. As soon as they clear the circuit, I'll give you another call. Well, these two guys on circuit are not actually racing each other. They finished 30th and 31st. It's Nick Benfelt and Marco Gonzalez. Big disappointment that Marc Gonzalez went out when he did, because he is a Spanish driver who really did quite well yesterday. But both of them leave the circuit now. Let's have another look at the senior pre-final chart. After 13 laps of racing, Harrison Scott from